Chapter 321 Make a Big Fuss. In the Devil Fruit Space. Lee Yi entered the space. He immediately opened a door to Konoha Village. And it's the door that leads directly to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen is an old fox, but Tsunade is his direct disciple no matter what. As long as he was by his side, how could he just watch Tsunade have an accident? However, to move directly to Sarutobi Hiruzen's side requires all your physical strength. Lee Yi clenched the Kiba pass, sweating all over. Finally, a door is opened. Without any hesitation, Lee Yi directly threw Tsunade out. Lee Yi, what are you doing? Before Tsunade could finish calling, his body had already left the Devil Fruit Space. Lee Yi fell to the ground. Hey, help me out. He was out of breath and had difficulty speaking. Violet immediately carried Lee Yi on her back and left the space. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina also hurried to keep up. The five came directly to the Hokage office. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen was not in the office. There is only one person in the office, that is Sarutobi Hiruzen's secretary, Nara Shikaku. He was stunned to see 5 people appearing one after another out of thin air. Tsunade, in particular, was tied up with all kinds of flowers and had scars all over his body. It made him even more stunned. Where is Lord Hokage? Lee Yi appeared, he shouted. Hysteria. Nara Shikaku replied in a daze, the Hokage master is not here, in Anbu. However, before he could finish speaking, Lee Yi yelled directly, call him back. Nara Shikaku is shrewd, he is still young after all. Therefore, he was bluffed by Lee Yi. He went to the window and took out a flare. A signal flare that is only sent out when the village of Konoha is in danger of destroying the country. Uzumaki Kushina hurriedly said, don't post. But, it's too late. She could finish her sentence. Nara Shikaku fired the flare. Hey! With a sharp sound. The flare shot quickly into the sky and eventually exploded with a bang. Not much sound. But the light released from the flare is extremely bright. In an instant, the night sky was illuminated. Boom! The whole Konoha village becomes like daytime. In Konoha village, everyone saw this scene. It's over. Uzumaki Kushina's heart skipped a beat. Namikaze Minato also had a wry smile on his face and said, it's a big problem. Almost at the same time, several figures came galloping from afar, each with a strong aura. Both Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina began to think about how to explain it. Lee Yi didn't take it seriously, instead he breathed a sigh of relief. This time, almost all the masters of Konoha village have assembled. Not to mention a mere space ninja, even if Uchiha Madara came in person, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to hurt Tsunade in the slightest. He was extremely tired and sweaty at the moment, and if he hadn't leaned on Violet's body, he would have fallen to the ground long ago. Untie her. Lee Yi said. Violet did. Tsunade was untied. She hurriedly supported Lee Yi, and wanted to grab Lee Yi from Violet's arms. Lee Yi, are you alright? Was deep concern in Tsunade's tone. Lee Yi shook his head. At the same time, a figure like a monkey, vigorous and flying, jumped in from the window. Sarutobi Hiruzen. Shikaku, what happened? He asked. Nara Shikaku scratched his head, a little embarrassed, and explained, Hokage Ninja-sama, it's like this, in order to protect Tsunade-sama's safety, so I was stupid just now. Chapter 322-Chase. Sarutobi Hiruzen slapped him on the head. Show no mercy. Crack. Accompanied by a crisp sound. Nara Shikaku was shot directly on the ground. He covered his head, looking aggrieved. There are only 3 national crisis bombs, how can they be released if they want? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Nara Shikaku and taught him, be calm and composed when you are in trouble, you can't make such a mistake again next time, you know. I know. Nara Shikaku looked guilty. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked up at Tsunade. Tsunade didn't look at him, instead his eyes kept on Lee. It's good to be back, it's good to be back. Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled in satisfaction. But right now. Huh. Sarutobi Hiruzen seemed to sense something. His eyes became cold, and his eyes suddenly became sharp, and he turned his head to look to the left. There, at an unknown time, the figure of an old man appeared. Even on crutches, he was hunched over and couldn't stand up straight. You are. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately had a huge shuriken in his hand, stared at the old man and asked in a low voice. Lee had recovered a bit of strength at this time, and immediately shouted, "It's him. It's this bastard who took Tsunade. It's you." Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes erupted with murderous intent, and he threw the lily sword directly. He quickly hand-sealed with both hands and shouted, "Shuriken Shadow Clone." Swish swish. A huge shuriken instantly turned into dozens, overwhelming the sky, smashing all the countless documents and rushing towards the old man. No dead ends. The old man is unavoidable. Tisk tisk, I didn't expect you to be able to transfer directly from such a long distance. This old man admires it. When he said this, the old man's eyes were always on Lee. However, this seems to be your limit, hee. I know, another space ninja has been born in Konoha village, and the details of this space ninja are also clear to me. Old man, it's not a waste of time. Quote. Just finished speaking. The palm that has been carrying thunder and lightning, behind itself, runs through the heart of the old man. But no blood came out. The old man's body is gradually becoming illusory. Just an afterimage. Hee, we will meet again, next time, the old man will kill you. Saying this to Lee, the old man's body disappeared. At the same time, the huge shuriken all fell on the wall, smashing the wall. Swish swish. Several figures flew from the window, landed in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen, knelt down and asked, "Lord Hokage, do you want to chase?" Chase. Live to see people, die to see corpses. Sarutobi Hiruzen is sonorous and powerful. In fact, he knew that he couldn't catch up. The opponent is a ninja of the space department. If you want to run, who can catch up? However, for Hokage's authority, he had to give this order. Yes. Several figures jumped out of the window as fast as lightning and disappeared into the night. Under Tsunade's treatment, Lee has regained his ability to walk. This A-level mission will be recorded in your files. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Lee and others, and said, "It is very strong evidence to evaluate Jonin or elite Jonin in the future." Thank you Lord Hokage. Both Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina bowed in thanks. However, Lee, Tsunade, and Violet stood motionless and said nothing. Chapter 323_deliberately. Lee's house. Alas. Tsunade let out a long sigh of aroma. This was her 18th sigh. What's the matter? Lee had just finished taking a shower, lying on the sofa, and asked with Erlang's legs crossed. Alas. Tsunade just sighed and didn't speak. If you don't tell me, then I won't ask. Lee spread his hands. Hard to catch. Tsunade pounced directly on Lee's body and said coquettishly, "If you don't ask me, you just don't care about me." Lee smiled. Tsunade is an impatient in his own right. Now Lee doesn't speak. She couldn't hold back any longer. Therefore, she lay on Lee's body, holding Lee with one hand, and drawing circles on Lee's chest with the other hand, saying, "Well, you shouldn't have saved me." Huh. Lee frowned suddenly. He thought about the countless things Tsunade might say. But he never imagined that Tsunade would say this. Why? Lee asked with a frown. Do you think I'm so weak that I was taken away when I went out? Tsunade asked. Lee shook his head. Tsunade was taken away. This thing is really strange. I was taken on purpose. Tsunade explained. You want to go deep into the enemy's camp. How can you get a tiger's son if you don't enter the tiger's den? Li Yi asked. Well, that's pretty much what it means. Tsunade's cheeks rubbed against Li Yi's chest, his head lightly nodded. What do you want to do? Li Yi sat up, stared into Tsunade's beautiful eyes, and asked. Isn't the country of water wanting to fight with us recently? I just want to see, what the hell is that Mizukage thinking? Why is there such a stupid idea? Tsunade also sat up. But she was sitting on Li Yi's lap. Li Yi could feel her softness and silkiness somewhere. Comfortable. Tsunade continued. Also, there is an unknown virus spreading in our country, and there are no symptoms yet, but I am worried that once the war starts and the symptoms break out again, won't our country be finished immediately? Well, that makes sense. Li Yi nodded slightly. Suddenly the conversation changed. Didn't you already have an antidote? The virus has mutated. Tsunade said solemnly. As far as I know, the virus has become 3 generations, and now the most widespread is the 2nd generation, and the antidote I developed is only for the 1st generation of viruses. So you are going to take a risk to the country of water to find the root of the virus, so as to develop a once and for all antidote. Li Yi squinted his eyes and asked in thought. Smart. Tsunade head tapped. Reward me with one. Li Yi pointed to his face. I don't. Tsunade shook his head in denial. Just finished. She moved Yuhi's lips to Li Yi's mouth. Mouth to mouth. Intimacy. After a while, Tsunade retracted his tongue. Gently pushing Li Yi away, his eyes drooping slightly, he said shyly, don't kiss the face, kiss the mouth. Li Yi kept his smile just right. I always feel like we're like this, I'm sorry Makoto. Tsunade said suddenly. Then let's break it up like this, and from now on, we won't communicate anymore. We are like strangers, and no one knows anyone. Li Yi said. Retreat to advance. No. Tsunade shook his head without thinking. Decisive attitude. Next moment. Alas. She sighed again, lying on Li Yi's chest, closed her beautiful eyes, and murmured softly, our relationship, let's just leave it like this for now, don't let Makoto know about it. Her words gave Li Yi a strange feeling of stealing men. Chapter 324-unfounded. Tsunade wanted to do whatever he wanted and was taken away on purpose. But he didn't expect that Li Yi would save him. You're famous this time. Tsunade sighed lightly. There was concern in his voice. Li Yi asked with a smile, why? I'm afraid that I have too many female fans and will become a playboy in the future. What do you think? Tsunade rolled his eyes at Li Yi. I'm worried. People are afraid of being famous and pigs are afraid of being strong. People in the country of water have already set their sights on you. Next, your life will not be as normal as before. Tsunade sighed at the aroma. Li Yi didn't take it seriously, smiled and said, this is exactly what I want. You just want to be famous. Be famous. Tsunade frowned. If you promise to marry me, then I can think about never thinking about these things again. Li Yi smiled and said. Marry you. If you want to be beautiful, I won't marry someone easily. Tsunade flipped a nice big Byakugan. One must have a dream. Maybe one day the dream will come true. Li Yi said with a smile. Okay, don't talk about it. Since things are settled now, it's useless to tangle. Tsunade waved his hand. Next, I will find another opportunity to sneak into the land of water, and it will not be too late to investigate carefully. Hear this. Li Yi's eyes flickered slightly. I don't know what I'm thinking about. After a moment, Li Yi just nodded, Not much to say. Tsunade said, you have a busy day today, and it's getting late, so go to bed. Li Yi closed his eyes. However, Tsunade did not leave. Instead, he has been sitting next to Li Yi. Li Yi sniffed the faint body fragrance on her body, opened her eyes and asked, why don't you leave? Why should I go? Tsunade asked in return. Well, you have just recovered, and your state is very dangerous. I have to stand by your side in case something happens to you. She explained. That's a bit of a worry. Li Yi smiled wryly. Worrying about nothing. Tsunade doesn't understand this idiom. However, she is smart enough to guess. No matter what you do, take precautions before they happen. Tsunade hit Li Yi lightly and taught, even if the probability is low, it is not impossible, so we must be on guard. Then he added, don't worry, I won't touch you. I'm not Makoto, I forcibly took your body while you were asleep. There was a hint of resentment in this sentence. Li Yi pouted. Is this remembering? Not much to say. Because the drowsiness has flooded my mind. Li Yi closed his eyes, and after a while, he started snoring evenly. Fell asleep so soon, he's really tired today. Tsunade stroked Li Yi's cheek lightly, his eyes hurt. After a light kiss on his forehead, Tsunade got up and walked out of the room. A woman is waiting outside the room. The obvious orange Yuhi-colored long hair represents her identity as an orange. What are you doing here? Tsunade's tone was rather unkind. Obviously, Tsunade doesn't have much affection for oranges. Tsunade added, Li Yi is fast asleep, if you want to fight, don't fight here. Wake up Li Yi, I won't let you go. Orange shook his head, I won't trouble you today. Huh. Tsunade was taken aback. Orange, who always suffers without looking for her trouble. Why is it suddenly abnormal at this moment? Chapter 325-chat. I came to you, just to talk to you. Orange said. Neither happy nor angry. Talk about what? Tsunade frowned. Orange first glanced around, then said, this is not the place to talk. Where do you want to go? Tsunade asked. Just come with me. After saying that, Orange turned around and left. Tsunade first glanced at the house behind him. Li Yi is still inside. To protect Li Yi's safety, Tsunade said, I'm not going. After saying that, he turned around and wanted to go back to the room. Li Yi is the most important. Orange suddenly said, what I want to talk to you about is closely related to the life of this man. Huh. Tsunade frowned suddenly. He turned his head sharply and looked behind him with murderous eyes. She wants to seize the orange to extract a confession. In this world, no one can touch Li Yi. However, the orange has gone far, the back is getting smaller and smaller. If Tsunade made a rash move, Orange would definitely be aware of it from such a long distance. At that time, the grass will be frightened. This method is not advisable. Tsunade thought for a moment. Bang! She used the clone technique and wanted to use the clone to talk to Orange. However, at this moment, Orange's leisurely voice came from the front. Don't use the clone, come here with the main body. The damn woman. Tsunade bites Kiba, gnashing his teeth. Think again. Clone stayed by Li Yi's side. The body follows the orange. However, Tsunade gave 70% of his power to his clone. The main body has only 30% of its power. The clone walked into the room and closed the door. The body keeps up with the orange. Orange walked out of the village. Tsunade's brows furrowed even tighter, thinking to himself, as expected, she is going to take me out of the village. In the dark night. Orange all the way forward. Tsunade followed. The speed of the two is not fast, but not slow. After a full hour or so, Orange, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. Tsunade didn't stop because she was already shocked by the sight around her. The surrounding scene is like being bombed by a huge bomb, devastated. Burnt smell, bloody smell, all kinds of unpleasant smells permeate the world. Tsunade slammed into Orange's back. Orange was almost knocked over and asked angrily, "Can't you walk with long eyes? Can't you see the road?" Tsunade asked, "What the hell is going on here? Your beloved man fought here before." Orange said, Li Yi is not the man I love. Tsunade cheek slightly a Yuhi. Did I say Li Yi? Orange tilted his head, pretending to be innocent. Tsunade cheeks more Yuhi. Ashamed and angry. She didn't expect that she would be tricked by this woman. What a shame. Are you a Sasori? Orange asked. No, I'm a Leo. Tsunade shook his head. Why are you asking this all of a sudden? Heavenly Sasori has a strong self-esteem, doesn't like to be lowly, and is duplicitous. He clearly likes it to death, but he refuses to admit it. Orange said. Waiting for Tsunade to reply, Orange said again, oh yes, Leo also has this characteristic. In the original Hokage, Tsunade is indeed a Leo, you can check it if you don't believe it. Li Yi is Tsunade's weakness. Whenever we talk about Li Yi, Tsunade, who is a strong woman at the last moment, immediately becomes a little woman. Don't talk about that. After the topic changed, Tsunade turned into a domineering strong woman again, ordering, answer me truthfully, what happened here? Chapter 326-guess. Orange didn't hide anything, and told all the ins and outs of the matter. Be truthful. Tsunade heard the words, his brows furrowed deeply. Why did the teacher let him do such dirty things? Why does it have to be him? Tsunade murmured, is it because he knows space ninjutsu? The reason why you chose him is because the man you like is not a good person. Orange said indifferently. You are not allowed to say that. Tsunade glared at Orange. You don't know him, what right do you have to say that? Hee, I know him better than you think. Orange smiled disdainfully. In the past few years since you were not in Konoha village, he has changed a lot, especially in the past month, his changes are really amazing. Really? Tsunade didn't refute this time, just narrowed his eyes slightly. Orange smiled and sneered, what? It's hard not to see the specific process of the change of the beloved. Don't talk nonsense. Tsunade flipped a Byakugan angrily. Orange shrugged, disapprovingly. The two were silent for a while. Orange broke the silence and said, there are more than 2 space ninjas in the country of fire, but Lord Hokage chose him. Why choose him? You can think for yourself. After saying that, Orange turned around and left. Tsunade's eyes froze. She wanted to grab Orange and interrogate it. However, Tsunade's right hand just touched Orange's shoulder. Bang! The Orange turned directly into a cloud of white mist and disappeared out of thin air. Tsunade's pupils shrank. Doppelganger. It turned out to be a clone. Damn, this woman, don't let me use my clone over, but I use it myself, damn it. Tsunade clenched his hand tightly. However, since the main body of the Orange is not here, Tsunade has nothing to do. She stopped thinking about it and looked around at her surroundings. It was too tragic. Looking at the devastated world, Tsunade was shocked. Once Konoha village mass produces this weapon, the balance between the 5 countries will be completely broken. At that time, Konoha village will dominate the entire ninja world. Suddenly, his face turned cold, and he said in his heart, but, according to what the woman said, Li Yi didn't know that Konoha village would release such a powerful weapon in advance. Fortunately, he used space ninjutsu to transfer away in time. Otherwise, he would be sure to die. A bold idea suddenly came out of Tsunade's heart. Could it be that the teacher wants to kill someone? The more you think about it, the more certain it is. The teacher wants a complete revolution, no doubt about it. But revolutions must have victims. Once the revolution is launched, not only will the enemy die, but our own people will also die. Is Li Yi on the teacher's list of sacrifices? If that's the case, then I have to protect Li Yi. Tsunade's mind kept thinking. She bit Silver Kiba gradually. Today, the most important person to her, Li Yi is the first step. She will never let Li Yi have an accident. She will do everything possible to protect Li Yi. No matter what, I must protect him. Even if he is on the teacher's sacrifice list, I have to convince the teacher to change his mind. Tsunade swears in his heart. She knew very well that her teacher, Sarutobi Hiruzen, said that it was impossible to persuade him. However, she didn't want Li Yi to have an accident. Therefore, even if she risks breaking with the village, she has to protect Li Yi. You want to move Li Yi, pass me first. Chapter 327-scolded. At the same time. In the land of water. The splendid palace. A boy-like man sat at the top. He is the fourth generation of Mizukage, Karataki Yagura. He looks young, but he already has a son. He's just born baby-faced. Below him, in the hall, stood a group of people, each with a team. There are 6 people in one of the teams, each of them is carrying a knife, and the appearance of the knife is different. They are one of the most powerful fighting forces in the contemporary water country, the 7 ninja swordsmen. Oh no, it has now become a group of 6 ninja swords. The owner of the big sword shark muscle, Tsukazan Fubuki, is now dead. And not far to the left of the 6 people, stood a white-haired old man. If Li Yi is here, then he will surely recognize that he is the old man who captured Tsunade. Mizukage-sama, it has been confirmed that there is indeed another space ninja in Konoha village. The white-haired old man was leaning on a cane, his eyes were slightly closed, and he said in an old voice. Karataki Yagura didn't speak, just sat at the top, squinting slightly. Hard to fathom. The white-haired old man continued, and he turned his head to look at the 6 people on the right. This ninja, I am afraid it has nothing to do with the death of Tsukazan Fubuki. Is that ninja taught by Uchiha Madara? Damn Uchiha Madara, isn't he dead? How did he come back to life? Among the 7 people of Ninja Sword, a man cursed angrily. He has long green hair, thick eyebrows, sharp kiba teeth, a bandage wrapped around his upper body, and a black vest on the outside, which looks terrible. He is the user of the Thunder Blade Kiba, Kurosuke Thunder Kiba. It's like lighting a fuse. Damn Uchiha Madara, I curse him to die. Say his mother, he was killed by Senju Hashirama, how come he is alive again? He lives as long as he lives, and he has taught such a troublesome apprentice. If I see him, I must cut him into 8 pieces and let him die without a place to be buried. 6 of the 7 members of the ninja swordsmen scolded one after another. The 7 ninja swordsmen are all brothers and have a good relationship. Tsukazan Fubuki was killed, and they were furious. What makes people even more angry is that in the room where Tsukazan Fubuki died, there are also handwritings that read, Uchiha Madara came here. Ridicule. Naked mockery. Today, the anger towards Uchiha Madara in the land of water has reached its peak. Everyone is cursing Uchiha Madara. Of course, Uchiha Madara is also a Konoha villager after all, so everyone in the water country is now taking anger at Konoha village. This is also the main reason why the land of water launched a war against the land of fire. Uchiha Madara has caused public anger in the land of water. The 6 scolded Uchiha Madara for more than that. What kind of mother, father, grandma? All kinds of swear words are endless. At this time. Enough. On the high seat, Karataki Yagura suddenly roared, raised his right hand, and slammed the chair. Boom, and the chair shattered directly, smashed into countless pieces. The 6 people were all startled and shut up. Saw Karataki Yagura's face was extremely gloomy, as if water was about to drip. Everyone suddenly had a bold guess. Lord Mizukage didn't seem to want them to scold Uchiha Madara. They scolded Uchiha Madara, and Lord Mizukage was very angry. Why does Mizukage-sama protect Uchiha Madara? However, this thought was fleeting. They even believed that Mizukage-sama was angry at the death of his compatriot. Chapter 328-wanted. Old Bai, can you be sure that Tsukazan Fubuki's death has nothing to do with that space ninja? Karataki Yagura sat at the top, looked at the white-haired old man, and asked. Old man replied, Mizukage, I am not sure. Then how sure are you? Karataki Yagura asked. The old man is 70% sure. The old man replied. 70%. Karataki Yagura narrowed his eyes slightly, thoughtfully. After a while, he nodded and said, Old boy, you have always been cautious. You said 70%, that's 90%, and since it's 90%, then the person who killed Sukazan Fuguki and carved that line on the wall must be him. Thank you Mizukage-sama for your trust. The white-haired old man clenched his right hand over his heart, and bowed slightly to thank him. Then, the order goes on, in order to avenge my compatriots. Karataki Yagura gave the order, at all costs, kill that space ninja and let him die without a place to be buried. Yes. The 6 ninja swordsmen all nodded, their voices tidy and loud. Go ahead. Karataki Yagura waved. The 6 ninja swords dispersed instantly and flew away. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. The white-haired old man frowned slightly. Because he always felt that the reason why Mizukage-sama got angry was not because of the death of his compatriot, but because of the words on the wall. Could it be the old man's delusion? It must be the old man's delusion. How could Mizukage-sama turn to a villain like Uchiha Madara? The old man convinced himself in his heart. Old boy, you can go back and rest. Space ninjas are difficult to deal with. If we really want to fight that ninja, you are our indispensable fighting force. Karataki Yagura said. Thank you, Mizukage, for your concern. This old man is willing to go through fire and water for Mizukage. After the old man thanked him, he turned around and left. So, in the main hall, only Karataki Yagura was left. Suddenly, he lowered his head, as if falling asleep. 7 or 8 seconds later. Suddenly, Karataki Yagura got up, lowered his head, and walked into the secret door of the main hall without looking at the road. Movement is very stiff. Like a puppet of someone being manipulated. Step by step, disappear. The white-haired old man didn't know Li Yi's name. But he had seen what Li Yi looked like. Therefore, the entire country of water is covered with portraits of Li Yi. In this way, Li Yi became the first assassination target of the land of water. Li Yi himself never thought that he would become famous in the land of water in such a way. Fire Country. Li Yi slept straight to noon on the 3rd day. That's right, day 3. Li Yi slept for a day and 2 nights. When he woke up, Tsunade was no longer around. That's cool. He sat up, stretched, and let out a deep moan. He didn't have any clothes on, and walked out of the room naked and into the toilet. After Lhasa, Li Yi began to take a shower. After half an hour, Li Yi, who was covered in water, walked out of the bathroom naked. Right now. Crunch. The door was opened. Tsunade, wearing a long dress and light makeup, like a beauty in a picture, walked in. Just got in. Tsunade froze in place. Li Yi motionless. To be precise, he was staring at Li Yi. Cough. Li Yi was not shy. Tsunade wasn't even shy. Awake? She asked with a half smile. Li Yi nodded. Then put on your clothes, and I'll tell you the business. Saying that, Tsunade sat down on the sofa with Erlang's legs crossed. The gesture is soft and elegant. Is it all right not to wear clothes? Li Yi asked with a smirk. As you like, I won't be greedy for your body for the time being. Tsunade shrugged, nonchalantly. Chapter 329-noisy. And, Li Yi still put on clothes. Tsunade let out a long sigh. I also want to take a good look at your figure. She said. Come to my bed tonight and I'll let you appreciate it and feel it. Li Yi gave a wicked smile. Forget it, I'll keep myself clean. Tsunade waved his hand. It's not good for you to sleep with me. What's the point of this? Do you despise me so much? Li Yi pretended to be angry. I thought Tsunade would coax him. However, Tsunade was unimpressed. Not only that, Tsunade nodded and said, yes, that's how I despise you. As soon as this word comes out. Li Yi's forehead. Seeing that Li Yi was deflated, Tsunade laughed, very proud. Li Yi's face was always ugly. Okay, don't be angry, I'm just kidding with you. Tsunade is enough to comfort Li Yi. Li Yi didn't eat her, and still put on a stinky face. Okay, don't be angry, I don't despise you, I'll apologize to you. Tsunade took the initiative to drill into Li Yi's arms. Li Yi suddenly stretched his arms around Tsunade. Ouch! Tsunade could not help but let out an exclamation as he felt his whole body being lifted. Immediately after. Crack! A crisp sound. Li Yi slapped the wave. As for where it was filmed. Old drivers know it. It hurts. Tsunade was in pain and tearful. At this time, most of her body was lying on Li Yi's thigh, a posture that she was willing to be beaten. The two quarreled for a while. To be precise, Li Yi slapped Tsunade a few more times. The two finally got down to business. She took out a piece of paper and slapped it on the table in front of Li Yi. Li Yi fixed his eyes. This is a wanted notice. There is no name on the warrant, just a portrait. Who is this man? He looks familiar. Li Yi frowned slightly. Ha ha ha. Tsunade laughed outright and asked, you don't even recognize yourself. Huh. Li Yi suddenly opened his mouth and looked intently again. Being reminded by Tsunade, he finally recognized it. The person in the portrait is not him, who else could it be? Draw me ugly, which artist did it? I cut off his hand. Li Yi said angrily. At this time, you still care about this? Tsunade gave Li Yi an angry look, charming and moving, and said, you have become the most wanted criminal in the country of water, and now everyone in the country of water wants to kill you, aren't you afraid? Scared. Li Yi nodded truthfully. Then what are you going to do? Tsunade asked. Stay in Konoha village all your life and never go out. Li Yi didn't want to answer directly. PFF. Tsunade almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. Can you stop being so cowardly? She asked. I don't call it cowardice, I call it tactical retreat, what do you know? Li Yi flipped a Byakugan. Okay, you know everything, I'm not as good as you in everything, right? Tsunade slapped Kiba at Li Yi. Immediately, while Li Yi was not paying attention, he smiled and squeezed that Li Yi lightly. Li Yi let out an, ow, sound. It was sour, straight to the core. Li Yi found that Tsunade had been very excited since seeing him naked in the bath just now. Excited to be precise. It is as if Kablan discovered a new continent and Galileo discovered a new universe. However, Tsunade didn't go too far. She returned to the topic and said, all in all, if you have this awareness, I won't worry about it anymore. The country of water is very frenetic now. In just one day, 11 ninjas from the country of water want to cross the border to kill you. But they were all caught by Konoha village, so as long as you stay in Konoha village, you are absolutely safe. Course, Tsunade hadn't finished speaking, and the accident happened suddenly. Chapter 330-Sneak Attack. Swish swish. Hundreds of kunai burst the glass and shot from the window. And every kunai is covered with explosive symbols. Hundreds of them, the power is great, you can imagine. Tsunade's expression changed, and he hurriedly said, run. So many explosions, enough to raise this house to the ground. No exaggeration. However, Li Yi did not hide at all. Instead, he stood there and waved his hand. In an instant, a huge hole appeared on the surface of the void. All kunai, all shot into the hole. Li Yi snapped his fingers with a pop. The huge hole disappeared instantly. At the same time, outside the village of Konoha, there was a loud bang, like the sky and the earth cracking. It was deafening. Even though they are far apart, Li Yi and Tsunade can see the fire. Tsunade froze for a moment. But the next moment, she understood. Li Yi moved those kunai outside the village. What an ingenious technique. At this moment, even the well-informed Tsunade is amazed. In fact, what she didn't know was that a ninja from Konoha village was seriously injured by the bombing. He is innocent. He was patrolling outside the village of Konoha at the time. Suddenly, hundreds of explosive symbols appeared beside him. He couldn't react at all. However, his life was quite big. He was not killed, but was seriously injured. However, neither Li Yi nor Tsunade knew about it. Li Yi jumped out of the window and ran towards the direction where kunai shot. Li Yi, be careful. Tsunade's expression changed, and he hurriedly followed. Li Yi in Konoha village, still want to escape. What a daydream. Therefore, soon, the person who attacked Li Yi was caught. He is a Jonin in the land of water. Li Yi kicked him in the face. Disfigured him directly. Tsunade didn't stop. How could anyone not be angry if they were suddenly attacked? But, you fucking pay for my windows. Li Yi cursed and kept kicking the man. Li Yi's anger was not being attacked at all. But the window was broken. Tsunade was speechless. I don't seem to know him very well yet. She thought. As the saying goes, the more mysterious, the more attractive. At this moment, Tsunade's feelings for Li Yi greatly increased. Way she looked at Li Yi changed slightly. While, the Konoha village guard arrives. Uchiha clan. Not Uchiha Fugaku though. What's the matter? A man leader asked. Tsunade told the story truthfully. Jonin of the land of water. Take it. The guards took the attacker away. Not only was the sneak attack not afraid. Instead, he looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. Ha ha ha, just wait for me, your death is coming soon, and then our great water country will make your life worse than death. Let you die without a burial place. Ha 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 ha. Tsunade's face suddenly changed. No, he's going to take poison. She wanted to stop it. But it was too late. Amid the laughter, the sneak attacker lost his breath. Suicide by poison. Died. Damn it. Tsunade gritted Kiba's teeth, looking ugly. Lord Tsunade, what do you want to do with this corpse? The guard asked. Tsunade turned to look at Li Yi. Li Yi's face was indifferent, and he said sternly, didn't he want me to die without a burial, then I will let him die without a burial. Do as promised. Li Yi first divided him into 5 horses. Then, left arm fed to dog. The right arm was fed to the mouse. Left leg thrown into the sea. The right leg was burnt to ashes. The upper body hangs on the cliff and never touches the ground. The head is made into a ball, and it is played by the children of the land of water. Chapter 331-Conversation. Sarutobi Hiruzen to talk to Li Yi. Li Yi, even in the village, you don't seem to be safe. Sarutobi Hiruzen smoked a cigarette, surrounded by clouds, and said. Hear this. Li Yi just wanted to say, aren't you scolding yourself? Why is it not safe in the village? It's not because of your poor management. Curse yourself, is it funny? However, Li Yi didn't say much, but waited for Sarutobi Hiruzen's next sentence. Sarutobi Hiruzen continued, I suggest that you enter Anbu. In Anbu, you will forget your true identity, let alone the ninja of the enemy country. Hear this. Li Yi said directly, Lord Hokage, according to what you said, I think I'm more suitable for the route. Oh, you know the routes. Sarutobi Hiruzen was visibly surprised. But the next moment, he reacted, nodded and said, it seems that the little girl Tsunade told you. Li Yi did not refute. Noncommittal. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and said, Li Yi, you are not suitable for the route is too dark, and there is still light in your heart. If you enter the route, you will feel out of place. Li Yi smiled directly. There is still a fart light in my heart. From the moment the system was activated, there were no such things in Lao Su's heart. However, Li Yi still did not refute it. Just nodded, thoughtfully. Sarutobi Hiruzen asked, "So, what are you going to do?" "A decision has to be made now." Li Yi narrowed his eyes. "It's not necessary." Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. "Then I'll wait a few days to tell you the answer." Li Yi replied. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. "All right, after all, it's an important moment that determines the trajectory of your life, so you can't be careless." Finally, he added, "There is one more thing that I need to tell you." "What's the matter?" Li Yi asked. "In the future, when people from the land of water come, don't kill them, keep them, I will use them." Sarutobi Hiruzen said. "The country of water still has people coming." Li Yi immediately frowned. Just being a Jonin from the land of water, he was caught off guard. If there are such people one after another, who can stand it? Besides, the security situation in Konoha village is so poor. Can't even stop one. Or are you letting these people out on purpose? Put me on shoes. At this moment, Li Yi's thoughts turned like electricity, thinking a lot. All in all, you have to prepare for the worst. Sarutobi Hiruzen said, "It is only with careful planning that disasters can always be one step behind you." "I see, thank you Lord Hokage for reminding me." Li Yi nodded. He saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's intentions. Force him into submission. Somehow Sarutobi Hiruzen just wanted him to join Anbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little unhappy that Li Yi did not join Anbu immediately. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen threatened Li Yi with these words, "soft violence." However, Li Yi is not a vegetarian either. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought he could talk. In fact, in Li Yi's eyes, it was like that. Li Yi never took him seriously. Not only that, Li Yi has always been on guard against him. Therefore, Sarutobi Hiruzen's words have basically no prestige for Li Yi. Why does this guy insist on letting me join Anbu? Does he want me to be silently killed while on Anbu's mission? What kind of medicine is he selling in his gourd? Li Yi kept thinking in his mind. Chapter 332-Light and Dark. After leaving the Hokage office, Tsunade immediately came up to him and asked, "What did the master say to you?" Li Yi told the truth. "He wants you to join Anbu." Tsunade's thin eyebrows furrowed slightly. Then asked, "What do you think?" "I haven't made up my mind yet." Li Yi shook his head. "Why do I feel that the master is targeting you?" Tsunade mumbled suddenly. Then he added, "Don't think too much, I don't mean he wants to hurt you, but he doesn't let you develop on the right path." "Anbu is not the right way?" Li Yi asked. "After joining Anbu, it is generally impossible to become a Hokage." Tsunade replied. Li Yi rolled his eyes. "You want me to be Hokage?" he asked. "Yes, of course, why not?" Tsunade nodded. "You are Hokage, I will assist you, and we will be able to manage the village in an orderly manner." Li Yi asked, "Do you want to be Hokage?" "Think about it, but I'm a woman and can't be Hokage." Tsunade sighed. Li Yi smiled without saying a word. In the original Hokage, Tsunade is a veritable fifth-generation Hokage. Tsunade in this world is very different from the original. Tsunade of this world is also full of hope and confidence in life. In the original novel, after losing his younger brother and lover one after another, Tsunade lost hope for the whole world and gave up on himself. She wouldn't be a Hokage if it wasn't for the leaderless Konoha village. Tsunade of this world, although also lost Naoki and Kato Dan, but she still has Li Yi. Therefore, she did not surrender herself, but still had hope for the world. "Do you know Danzo?" Tsunade asked. Li Yi nodded. "Danzo and the master are both apprentices of the second grandfather. I heard the second grandfather say that he likes these two apprentices very much and wants them to become Hokage, but in the end he chose the master. However, Danzo is actually half an apprentice. Hokage, he runs Anbu, and is powerful in our Konoha village. Quote. And if you join Anbu, I'm afraid you'll go the way of Danzo, Tsunade said. I think that's fine too. Lee Yi smiled. Not good. Not good at all. Tsunade shook his head vigorously. Do you want to hide in the dark all your life? Lee Yi replied, where there is light, there is shadow, and where there is shadow, there must be light. The two complement each other, and neither will work without them. Wrong. The world can be without shadows, but there must be light. Tsunade retorted Lee Yi, do you know who the next Hokage is in the master's mind? Lee Yi wants to say, Namikaze Minato. However, Namikaze Minato is still very young. Moreover, Namikaze Minato really became famous after the Third Ninja War. The Ninja World War has not yet begun. Therefore, the next Hokage appointed by Sarutobi Hiruzen is definitely not him. Lee Yi thought about it based on the original work. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and he replied, Konoha's White Fang. Oh, you know him. Tsunade's pretty face. His name is so loud that it's hard to wonder if he doesn't know. Lee Yi nodded. Well, you guessed it right, he is indeed the next Hokage appointed by the master. Tsunade nodded. Then he changed the topic. It's just that there is a problem with his current mental state, but it's not a big problem, and it will pass after a few days. However. Hear this. Lee Yi's eyes suddenly narrowed into a slit. Chapter 333-face. Konoha White Fang, also known as Hitaki Kakashi's father, Hitaki Tsukumo. Not only is he powerful, but he is also a man of great character, and is well known in the Konoha village. However, during one mission, he violated the rules. His task is to bring back the country's important documents, at any cost. However, on the way back, his companion was caught. In order to save his companions, Hitaki Tsukumo gave up the file. But this puts the village of Konoha in a major crisis. Hitaki Tsukumo is very remorseful. Not only that, but the people around him are also blaming him. Moreover, even the few companions who were saved by him blamed him. Why save me? Why break the rules? Did you get water in your head? Do you know how badly this will affect our Konoha village? Were you stupid? Gossip hurts him. He was very guilty. Now it is even more faceless to face the country. Therefore, he has a psychological problem. In the original Hokage, it wasn't long before he committed suicide. At that time, Hitaki Kakashi will become an orphan. This is the original plot. However, the reality of this world is very different from the original. Therefore, Lee Yi asked, what's going on? Tsunade told the truth. The development of this world is almost the same as the original. But there is one difference. That is Hitaki Tsukumo not only did not bring back the document, but also did not save the companion. Didn't get either. It's over now. Lee Yi patted his forehead. Originally, he could get some psychological comfort by saving his companions. It's better now, because of his rash action, he lost his wife and lost his army. He must be very remorseful in his heart. It seems that the day when he commits suicide may be sooner than expected. Lee Yi narrowed his eyes and thought. Tsunade asked, what do you think about this? His decision has both good and bad. But it turned out that there is only bad and no good. Lee Yi said, his action this time was very unsuccessful, and he is ashamed of his name. There was no euphemism in his words. But it's true. Tsunade nodded when he heard the words. You are right, but we can't let him live in self-blame all the time. He is one of the important fighting forces in our Konoha village. I'll see him when I have time. Lee Yi said. Although a ninja's duty is to obey the rules. However, people are alive, and rules are dead. Although Hitaki Tsukumo broke the rules, it was out of good intentions. Although he lost his wife and lost his army, at least he was still alive. Therefore, Lee Yi wanted to see his situation. Here, the world has a vote. Do you think Hokage Sakumo should be dead or alive? The minority obeys the majority. Leave him alone. Anyway, I don't want you to enter Anbu. Tsunade looked into Li Yi's eyes and said, you are only short of fame. As long as you are famous in the ninja world, like Hokage Sakumo and Namikaze Minato, the master will not let you into Anbu. Exactly what is said. Entering Anbu, you must first forget your original name. If you don't even know your true identity, how can others know? However, once you become famous in the ninja world, every move will attract the attention of countless people. This is the face of Konoha village. It is also impossible for Sarutobi Hiruzen to let them enter Anbu incognito for the sake of Konoha village's face. So, you want me to be famous? Li Yi looked at Tsunade's pretty face and asked with a smile. Chapter 334-Extraordinary Third Order. Tsunade nodded. She really wanted Li Yi to be famous. Li Yi smiled and said, isn't it easy to want me to be famous? Tell the country of water my name. By then, it will be difficult for me not to be famous. Now the water country all want to kill Li Yi. However, they only know Li Yi's appearance, but not his name. So, as long as Li Yi's name is made public, then everyone in the country of water will know about it. And I still have a grudge in my heart to know. Tsunade shook his head. I don't want that kind of fame, I want World War I fame. Li Yi blinked. Tsunade explained. You have to have a great record. Like me and Orochimaru, Jiraiya, we went through the Second Ninja War, and in World War II we fought Hanzo of the Salamander. Although Hanzo of the Salamander is a demigod, we survived that battle. This is a record we are proud of. And the three of us took advantage of this record to become Konoha Sannin, and have since become famous in the entire ninja world. It's not that I deny you, although you have a good record now. But these records are not famous. You have to let everyone know that you have done something earth-shattering. In this way, you will be completely famous and gain a foothold in the ninja world. At that time, even if you want to join Anbu, the master will not agree. Tsunade talked eloquently and said a lot. Li Yi could naturally understand what she meant. However, before there is no absolute strength, Li Yi does not want to be too public. Before, by fighting like the white-haired old man, Li Yi successfully reached the third rank of extraordinary. In other words, his own strength has reached the realm of Jonin. Coupled with the trump cards such as Rui Golden Hoop Club and Menman Space Fruit, Li Yi's true combat effectiveness is incalculable. However, even so, Li Yi still does not want to show his face. He is very aware of the world's top combat power. Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama, Six Paths Immortals, Otsutsuki Kagaya, and so on, these people are powerful enough to open up the world. Li Yi's current strength, although not too weak. But compared with these powerhouses, it is still a world of difference. Can't compare. In fact, why didn't Li Yi want to show up? He wants to pretend to. But strength doesn't allow it. Unless his strength is comparable to or surpasses these powerhouses, Li Yi will never be arrogant. Tsunade glanced at Li Yi's face. In an instant, she could see Li Yi's thoughts. She said, although your combat power is not too strong, your escapability is one of the best in the entire Konoha village now. Tsunade is not exaggerating. After all, ninjas in the space department are really rare. Even Namikaze Minato is not a space ninja. He learned the technique of Hiraishin before he could teleport in space. However, the art of Hiraishin has no place of its own. In other words, Namikaze Minato will, Li Yi will. Namikaze Minato will not, Li Yi will also. Therefore, Li Yi surpasses Namikaze Minato, it is only a matter of time. Now, Li Yi's ability to escape is already ranked among the top in Konoha village. After further development, Li Yi will definitely become the first. Although people are afraid of being famous, pigs are afraid of being strong, but your ability to escape is too strong. Even if you are famous, it will be difficult for the enemy to harm you. That's one of the fundamental reasons why I want you to be famous, Tsunade said. Chapter 335 Tsunere_. These things will be discussed later. Li Yi stretched and said, I'm hungry now, I'm going to eat, how about you? I'm not hungry. Tsunade shook his head. Then he said, but I will follow you. Why are you following me? Go with your own business. Li Yi said. I'm not busy. Tsunade shook his head and explained, I want to protect you, there are too many people trying to harm you right now. You just said clearly that my escape ability is first rate, so you are not afraid that you are by my side, not only can't protect me, but also implicated me. Li Yi asked with a smile. Then leave me alone. Whether I live or die has nothing to do with you. Tsunade was deliberately pissed off. It took so much effort to get you back, yet you told me these words. Li Yi squeezed Tsunade. Tsunade Chika Yuhi hastily looked around. Make sure no one sees it. She breathed a sigh of relief. Li Yi fiercely and said, don't do these things in public, how bad would it be if people saw it? Then let's go home and talk. Li Yi smirked. HMPH, I'm not going home with you. Tsunade snorted softly, crossed his arms, and turned to leave. That was the direction of Li Yi's house. However, Li Yi turned his head in another direction. Opposite of Tsunade. Tsunade saw that Li Yi didn't follow. Doubtful. Turn around and look. But I saw that Li Yi was moving further and further in the other direction. Tsunade hurriedly asked, where are you going? Aren't you hungry? Aren't you going home? I'm going to eat ramen. Li Yi answered loudly without turning his head. Tsunade bites Kiba. Stinky man. Humph. A soft humming sound came out of Chang's nose. Stomp his feet. Turn around and follow Li Yi. Finish drinking ramen. Walking in the street. Tsunade suddenly said, that little girl at the ramen restaurant likes you. She's in her teens and she's still young. When she grows up, she won't like me anymore. Li Yi shook his head. This is not necessarily the case. Many people marry the person they liked when they were young. Tsunade shook his head. Then who did you like when you were a kid? Li Yi asked Tsunade. Why should I tell you? Tsunade puffed out his chest and asked rhetorically. It's fine if you don't tell me. It's not me anyway, and I'm not interested in knowing. Li Yi shrugged. Who told you not to come to me then? Tsunade glared at Li Yi. Li Yi pouted. I haven't crossed over yet, how can I find you? Afterwards, Li Yi smiled slightly and said, I don't care what happened in the past, I just care about now. Huh. Tsunade blinked. It doesn't matter how you were before. You are mine now. Li Yi gave Tsunade a bad smile. Tsunade Chika Yuhi immediately retorted, the truth is that I am not yours now. Then you go home with me, and I'll change that fact right away. Li Yi said. Then I'm not going. Tsunade shook his head immediately. Having said that. However, Tsunade honestly followed Li Yi back home. Violet is not at home. I do not know where to go. Li Yi directly locked the door. Then picked up Tsunade. Princess hug. Quickly walked to the bedroom not far away. Oh, what are you doing? Let me down. Tsunade pretended to be angry and tapped Li Yi's hand lightly. However, in the eyes of most men, Tsunade is such a fitting rejection. It is the warmest welcome. Li Yi quickly entered the bedroom, threw Tsunade on the bed, and locked the bedroom door. What is he going to do? Chapter 336_I choose you. Li Yi and Tsunade didn't do that. However, both of them are young people in their 20s, how could they be able to hold back? Therefore, the two played needlework. Afterwards, Li Yi and Tsunade were lying on the bed. Both were panting. An overworked look. Tsunade's hair was wet and stuck to his forehead. Her head was lying on Li Yi's chest, and her hands were hugging Li Yi's waist. I can't imagine. We're crazy too. You can't do this kind of thing in the future. Tsunade said with emotion. Don't you like it? Lee Yi asked with a smile. It's not that I don't like it either. Tsunade shook his head slightly, it just doesn't feel right. What's wrong? Lee Yi asked. You are Makoto's man, but I do these things for you, and I feel guilty. Tsunade rolled his eyes and said. In fact, Tsunade is quite conscientious. What she meant by these words was to make Lee Yi abandon Makoto. Lee Yi not see Tsunade's little 99. However, Lee Yi did not expose it. Instead, he said, then let's break it like this. As soon as this word comes out. Crack. Tsunade slapped Lee Yi's back. Show no mercy. Lee Yi took a deep breath. It hurts. How can you say that? You are responsible for me. Tsunade pouted and looked at Lee Yi with tears in his eyes, aggrieved. We didn't do that. I don't seem to be responsible for you, do I? Lee Yi asked with a smile. No, you let me do that. I don't care, you have to take responsibility for me. Tsunade pouted, just right wayward, so cute indeed. Then what do you want me to do? You feel guilty. In order not to feel guilty, we can only cut off contact and become strangers in the future. Lee Yi shrugged, pretending to be helpless. Then you won't. Tsunade was about to cry. No what? Lee Yi can ask. Tsunade was silent for a moment. She didn't want to say that. It's too bitchy to say. However, in the end, she couldn't hold back. Then you won't cut off contact with Makoto. Why did you have to cut off contact with me? What am I inferior to Makoto? Tsunade said aggrievedly. This is her real purpose. Although she feels guilty, she doesn't want to cut off contact with Lee Yi. She has been complaining to Lee Yi, just to force Lee Yi to make his own decision. Who to choose? However, Lee Yi has not made a decision. Tsunade couldn't wait. After doing that just now, she couldn't bear it anymore. She sat up suddenly, rode on Lee Yi's belly, and said, I don't care, you have to make a decision today. Choose me or choose her. However, before Lee Yi could answer, there was a sudden knock on the door outside the room. Don't worry about that. Answer me quickly, choose me or her. Tsunade hugged Lee Yi's face and pressed him. However, before Lee Yi could speak, Uchiha Makoto's crisp voice sounded from outside the room. Lee Yi, are you at home? Hear this voice. Tsunade Kiba bites his teeth. A look of displeasure appeared in his eyes. Come early or late, but come at this time. That woman is so annoying. Tsunade hates a person so much. In fact, Uchiha Makoto is excellent in all aspects, and his character is also excellent. But, who made them both fall in love with Lee Yi? How can there be a peaceful rival in this world? Tsunade sighed softly. She thought that the sudden appearance of Uchiha Makoto would make this matter go away. But did not expect. I choose you. Lee Yi looked at Tsunade's phoenix eyes and said. The sound is light. But the tone is so firm. The sky is falling. Thunder can't move. Chapter 337_My man. I choose you. Lee Yi's voice was not loud. But the tone is so firm. Hear this. Tsunade's heart trembled violently. Like a bull hitting her heart. Very excited. She was moved to cry. But she was born Tsunere. Therefore, instead of crying, she snorted coldly and said, Congratulations, you made a correct decision. Lee Yi smiled without saying a word. Tsunade is so Tsunere. This is also what Lee Yi likes. Hurry up and get dressed. I don't know what Makoto has to do with you. I went to wash my hands. My hands were sticky and uncomfortable. Tsunade said while wearing his clothes. Slimy. What? Old drivers know it. Walking to the door, Tsunade seemed to have remembered something, and suddenly turned his head and said, Oh, by the way, go get a kiba. Hear this. Lee Yi smiled bitterly. Of course he knew to brush Kiba. As for why brush Kiba, old drivers know it. Lee mainly brushes Kiba. Tsunade washes hands, brushes Kiba. Worked for 5 or 6 minutes. Finally, Lee opened the door. Makoto was still standing in the doorway. What are you doing? She blinked, looked at Lee, and asked. I was sleeping just now. Lee stretched his waist. He didn't lie. He did want to sleep with Tsunade just now. During the day, what do you sleep for? Makoto tilted his head. But she didn't think too much, but said, I have something for you. Come in and talk. Lee invited Makoto into the room. Living room. Lee, Tsunade, and Makoto were sitting on 3 sofas respectively. Tsunade kept a faint smile. Victorious. Lee pushed Makoto a cup of hot tea and asked, what's the matter? Makoto's face was a little embarrassed. She glanced at Tsunade beside her and hesitated. Tsunade could see what Makoto meant. She wanted to drive her away. However, Tsunade just doesn't go. Pretending not to see anything, he sat there calmly drinking tea. Why am I leaving? Why should I go? Why should I leave Lee to you? I don't want you to be alone with Lee. Lee frowned. Because, seeing Makoto's face, Lee knew something must have happened. If there is a big crisis, Lee can't wait to die. So Lee gave Tsunade a wink. He wanted her to leave first. Tsunade immediately glared at Lee. The meaning is obvious, I'm not going out. However, Tsunade is not a vexatious person after all. She could also see that Makoto really had something to do. So she got up and said, you guys talk, I'll go out and buy something. After saying that, Tsunade turned and left. Take it easy. Generous. Could this be the confidence from the main palace? Crunch. With the sound of the door closing, only Lee and Makoto were left in the room. Lee asked, can we talk now? Makoto nodded lightly and asked, did my mother put a seal on you? Well, that's right. Lee did not hide it, and nodded truthfully. Then do you feel sick? Makoto asked with concern. No, I'm fine. Lee smiled and shook his head. He had already used 2 evolutionary opportunities to crack the seal of the Shugong sand. Uchiha he would never have imagined that the seal she set up with painstaking meditation, which could even be said to be unsolvable, was actually broken by Lee. Chapter 338-escaped. Lee decided that Uchiha Makoto came to him, and it was definitely more than this. Sure enough, after a while, Makoto said, Uchiha Fugaku is going to shoot you. I've heard this sentence 800 times. Lee smiled disdainfully. No, it's not a joke this time, he's really going to shoot at you. Makoto's face was serious and he said, he has assembled a lot of strong people, and he is going to assassinate you when you are not paying attention. Oh, assassination. Lee's eyes narrowed slightly. Immediately looked at Makoto and asked, where did you get this information? From my father. Makoto replied. Sure enough, it's your father. Lee nodded, thoughtfully. Makoto was about to continue talking. Lee suddenly grabbed Makoto's hand and rolled up her sleeves. It was hot, but Makoto was wearing long sleeves. And when Lee rolled up her sleeves, her face suddenly turned cold. Because she saw that Makoto's arm was already swollen, bruised, and blood-stained Madara, unsightly. Lee's sudden attack made Makoto a little overwhelmed. The next moment, she came back to her senses, hurriedly rolled up her sleeves, and said, this is my own fault. Lee smiled coldly. It's this time, you are still defending your father. Filial piety is a good thing, but filial piety is not wise. Makoto was speechless. She turned pale and shook her head. No, it's not what you think. How can a biological father do something to his biological daughter? Lee said, even if you do the wrong thing, you can't punish you like this. Besides, you didn't do anything wrong. Why did your father beat you? No, it's not like that. Makoto kept shaking his head, but didn't say anything. If you don't tell me, I know. Lee looked indifferent. Your father wants you to marry Uchiha Fugaku, but you don't want to marry Uchiha Fugaku. You disobeyed him, so he beats you, every now and then. Makoto didn't speak, but fell into silence. Silence is the default. Lee narrowed his eyes. How can there be such a father? Feudal era. However, Lee did not continue to ask more questions. Seeing Yuhi in Makoto's eyes, he was about to burst into tears. Lee had to comfort her. And Makoto lay in Lee's arms, sobbing. Tears flowed down my face. Very pitiful. Lee can't push her away at this time, can he? So he stroked her back to soothe her emotions. After about 15 minutes, Makoto finally stopped crying. Lee with swollen eyes from crying, and asked, Lee, can I stay at your house for a few days first? Huh? Lee frowned. Before, when Uchiha Makoto came in, he was holding a line of Lee. But this time, she didn't even take Lee. Did it happen suddenly? Or don't bother. Lee stared at Uchiha Makoto. Under the pressure of Lee's eyes, Uchiha Makoto finally revealed the truth. Uchiha Makoto was imprisoned by her father in order to prevent writing letters to Lee. Uchiha Makoto escaped in embarrassment with the help of her mother. She has nowhere to go now. Looks like Uchiha Fugaku is really going to attack me. Lee squinted his eyes, and a cold light flickered in his eyes. That being the case, why not preempt it? You want to kill me. That old man will kill you first. However, at this moment, there was a knock on the door. Immediately afterwards, a strong and powerful voice came. Makoto, I know you are inside, go home with me immediately. Imperative. Chapter 339 Makoto's father. Lee frowned suddenly. Although he was not familiar with the voice. However, from Makoto's pale face, Lee could guess the identity of the other party. What are you going to do? Lee looked at Makoto and asked. Makoto shook his head. I'm not going back, I don't want to go back. Then don't go back. Lee smiled lightly. What are you going to do? Makoto looked at Lee worriedly and said, my father's strength is very strong, and the interrogation methods are cruel, you can't hide it from him. Lee touched Makoto's head. Don't worry, I have my own plans. After speaking, Lee waved his hand. A 2-meter-long space crack appeared in front of him. Go in. Lee said. Makoto is worried about Lee though. But she trusts Lee more. Therefore, after saying, be careful with everything, Makoto got into the space of the door fruit. Lee's mind, the crack suddenly disappeared. The surface of the void is flat, and there is no clue. Lee stretched and sat up from the sofa. Then let me see what kind of character Makoto's father is. With a grin, he walked to the door. In the original Hokage, there is no description of Makoto's father. That's a blank. However, this world is the real world, and Makoto can't be without a father. Since her father is the contemporary patriarch of the Uchiha clan, and he can also marry a superb wife like Uchiha, then he must be a peerless and beautiful man with a graceful and extraordinary bearing. Lee opened the door. What came into view was a man with a pot belly, bald hair, a big nose, and thick lips. Lee was startled. Is this Makoto's father? Impossible. Therefore, Lee glanced around. However, there was only one fat man outside the room, and no one else. He's not really Makoto's father, is he? Lee's heart skipped a beat. But he was still very calm on the surface and asked, hello, who are you looking for? Boy, are you Lee? The fat man asked. Yes. Lee nodded. Then he asked, who are you? Don't pretend to me, where is Makoto, hand her over, don't force me to use extreme tactics. The fat man stared at Li Yi and said in a low voice. An inexplicable pressure emanated from his eyes and pressed against Li Yi. Li Yi blinked his eyes, pretended to be confused, and said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I haven't seen Makoto for several days, how can I give her to you?" However, before Li Yi could finish his words, the fat man pushed Li Yi's body away directly, ignoring Li Yi's consent, and broke into the house directly. "Why are you like this?" I said. "Makoto is not at my house." Li Yi pretended to be unhappy, and lowered his voice to scold. The fat man looked around for himself. No one else was found. But found women's personal items. For example, a woman's upper inner, lower inner. "Why do you have women's items in your home?" the fat man asked. "This is my private matter, and I am obliged to answer you." Li Yi tilted his head and asked. "Very unkind attitude. Let me ask, who can be kind when someone is forced into a private house?" The fat man didn't ask any more questions, nodded and said, "It was me who was abrupt. I apologize to you for my unreasonable behavior just now. I'm sorry." After speaking, the fat man stretched out his right hand towards Li Yi, wanting to shake his hand. Li Yi did not refuse. However, the hands just held each other. The pupil of the fat man suddenly changed shape. Chapter 340 count up. Sharingan. Demonic illusion. Li Yi only felt his eyes flicker. Immediately afterwards, his vision returned to normal. As if nothing had happened. But, right now. Ding! It detects that the host has fallen into an illusion, and the system automatically deactivates the demonic illusion. 3, 2, 1. Demonic illusion lifted successfully. The moment when the crisp sound of the system fell in my mind. Li Yi's eyes flickered again. However, immediately afterward, Li Yi's vision returned to normal again. At this moment, the low voice of the fat man entered Li Yi's ears. "Boy, answer me truthfully, where did you hide Makoto?" Li Yi blinked. Immediately, he understood the methods used by the fat man. He let himself fall into an illusion. However, his subconscious is still there. The subconscious mind does not lie. Therefore, the fat man is interrogating his own subconscious. If Li Yi didn't escape from the illusion in time, he would definitely tell the truth. Pity that, in this world, what Li Yi is least afraid of is demonic illusion. Mention the ordinary Sharingan demonic illusion, even Uchiha Shisui's Kotoamatsukami, Li Yi didn't take it seriously. With a system in place, any demonic illusion is a paper tiger. However, suddenly, Li Yi rolled his eyes, as if he had come up with some good idea. Afterwards, Li Yi replied blankly, "I didn't hide Makoto." "Count it up." "You didn't hide." The fat man froze for a moment. Immediately asked, "Makoto didn't come to you?" "No." Li Yi's voice was like a machine. "Where did Makoto go?" the fat man asked with narrowed eyes. Li Yi replied, "I don't know either." "You don't know?" The fat man's face changed slightly. "I thought Makoto would definitely come here after he escaped from home. But unexpectedly, he miscalculated. Makoto didn't come. Then where did she go?" Fat men believe in their demonic illusion. Li Yi said must be true. After pondering for a while, the fat man thought of a few suspicious places and planned to leave. He raised his right hand and snapped his fingers. Li Yi's body trembled. Then, blinking his eyes, he looked at the fat man in front of him with a confused look, and asked, "What happened just now?" "Nothing happened just now." The fat man said, "Since Makoto isn't here, I'll go out and look for it." Li Yi immediately asked, "Do you need me to help you find it?" "No need." The fat man shook his head. Suddenly the conversation changed, his tone became cold, and he said, "Boy, do you know who I am?" Li Yi shook his head deliberately. "I am Makoto's father, Uchiha Junshin." The fat man said coldly, from today onwards, I ask you to completely cut off communication with Makoto, otherwise. Having said that, the fat man clenched his fists at Lee, with blood glittering in his eyes. Threat. Naked threats. Boy, do you understand? The fat man released his hand and asked coldly. However, facing his threat, Lee smiled lightly and asked, "You're not my father, what right do you have to control me? I want to associate with whomever I like, and whoever I want to associate with, can you handle it?" The fat man looked cold. However, in the end, he did not get angry. With a wave of his sleeves, he turned and left. Just leave one sentence. Good luck, boy. Close the door and leave. He knew that Lee had few days to live. So, what's the harm in letting him jump for a few more days? In a few days, someone will naturally let him die without a burial.